right, Brandon.
Yeah.
Welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
You are an incredible entrepreneur. We've known each other for how many years?
I think 3 years now, early 2022.
Yeah. No, that's true. And do you remember how we met?
Yeah. So I guess we'll get into more of the story later, but I got a cold email from you probably in late 2021, early 2022, basically requesting to partner one of the creators I had represented with Versus Game at the time. And we jumped on a call. Literally nothing came of it. And then I think I was scrolling on LinkedIn like 6 months later, and I'm like, oh, Warren, we haven't talked in a while. And I didn't realize, like, I thought you just worked at Versus Game. Like, I didn't know who you were, what your experience was. I'm like, damn, this guy's someone serious. Like, maybe I should reach back out. And then I think we met up at your place and just kicked it off. We sat there for 4 hours just like this and just started talking on a weekly basis after that. Yeah,
and you were just a couple years out of USC, right? So you're USC.
We connected, I think, while I was still a student.
You were still there? Wow.
Yeah.
Dang. You were doing that as you were a student?
Towards the end. Yeah. Got it. Right at the end.
Got it. And you just moved to Miami a few months ago now, right?
Yeah, I just moved to Miami.
So wait, explain the journey for people. So you started a business, and like what happened there? Yeah,
so I guess I can give the full story. So, I was born in LA and I went to USC for college, and throughout the whole time I was always very entrepreneurial. I had started some startup in high school, lost a bunch of money on that, didn't know what the hell I was doing, did another thing in college, also failed, didn't know what I was doing. And COVID hit, and I had a job selling masks in bulk, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and because I had some sales experience in the past. I'm like, okay, let me do this, and I was garbage at it. Couldn't sell masks. I think I sold maybe like a few $1,000s of masks over 4 months. It was terrible.
Yikes.
And then got a couple of different internships around that time, and I'm like, damn, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, wanted to start businesses, and I was just completely lost. And it was this one night, I think it was December 21st or December 20th of 2020. I specifically remember this. I was listening to this podcast with James Bashara, who's the founder of Magic Mind. You know James?
Okay, yeah, he's great.
So listen to his podcast. I think it was called Mercury Tea Room Podcast, something like that.
Okay.
I'm like, damn, this guy's really fucking smart.
Yeah.
And so I emailed him. I'm like, hey, and the email subject line was ambitious 20-year-old looking to work for you or something like that. And it's like, hey, like, I'm 20 years old. I have sales experience. Here's what I've done. Like, is there anything to do at any of your companies or Magic Mind or anything?
Wow.
And he just got back to me like the day after, like, can you sell? I'm like, yeah, here's my sales experience. And he's like, okay, can you find me guests on my podcast? So for like 2 months, I found him guests for his podcast. And we basically filled up the entire schedule. I was like, I really wanted to go above and beyond for him. So we got people like Seth Godin, Chris Voss, Jeff Goodby, like all these pretty big names. And he was
that like email or DM or how did
it was everything. Okay. So I was like emailing them. Like at one point we wanted to get the CEO of Brunello Cucinelli, and so he doesn't really speak that much English. So I found his son on LinkedIn. I found his Italian phone number and cold called his son. We didn't end up getting him, but like like cold calling Bob Iger from Disney, and he called me back, and I missed his call. And then
Bob called you back?
I called him. He called me back, and then I texted him because I missed his call. I'm like, fuck, I missed his call.
Bob Iger text? I think that's funny.
And then he texted me like, hey, reach out to my assistant or something like that. We didn't end up getting it, but like
that's cool.
Getting a hold of these people was just, I was hustling no matter what to get a hold of these people. And so that was a good experience. And one thing that, I learned from that too, is like the whole time he's like, yo, if you're working, tell my assistant, invoice me at $500 a week. And I never sent him an invoice because I never wanted him to pay me.
This is James.
Yeah. So early on, I don't even know if he's fully aware that I never invoiced him because it was all his assistant, but like putting the good thing in the universe, you know what I mean? So
that's funny.
Yeah. So I never charged.
But how much would it have been? How many weeks did you do it?
I think I did it for about three or 4 months. Okay. So it probably would have been, I don't know, a few $1,000s. So nothing too crazy, but like.
So James owes you $6,000.
No. I owe him for like creating the story, but so that's how that worked. And one thing that's always, I was telling my brother-in-law about the other day. It's so funny about James. We've only had 3 synchronous conversations in like a year that we were working together, and the rest of it was over Loom videos.
He's a big Loomer.
He's a big Loomer, and I saw his blog because I wanted to do a call. Like the fourth time I wanted to do a call, I'm like, then I saw his blog. He just posted a blog about asynchronous communication, and I'm like, oh, let me send you a Loom video. And say, wow, this is great. And then we just never ended up doing a synchronous conversation. That's a side. I just find that really funny.
That is, because James is known for, like, I heard about him through my friend Ben Cohen, who I think is an investor and has helped Magic Mind with a bunch of stuff. And Ben was like, you're gonna love this guy. He's an investor in so many companies. He doesn't do a lot of in-person meetings. He only does phone calls on, I think, Tuesdays. And he's a big Superhuman email guy, which I love Superhuman.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, that guy sounds really similar. And then Kayla, my wife, was a partner with Magic Mind. And we ended up going to, some of their like lunches or, brunches that he hosts in Venice, which are really, fun, curated, like 15 or 20 people and amazing healthy food. And it's really cool that James does that. But, his family's great and he's awesome. Wait, how did you hear about James was it through Magic Mind or what did you?
It was just, I was scrolling on YouTube and I saw he had a podcast.
Yeah.
It was called Mercury Tea Room, which was by the Mercury Bank. They would interview like angel investors.
He's changed the name of the podcast now, right?
It's not his podcast.
Oh, got it.
Mercury.
It was theirs.
Podcast.
Okay.
And they brought him on because I think he was an investor.
Nice.
So basically, what happened was, I started finding his guests, and then like 2 or 3 months in, he's like, "Okay, can you get us sponsors
for the podcast?"
And he's like, and I had no idea about anything about sponsorships, anything about podcast sponsors. But I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, you have a audience of entrepreneurs, of course I can sell that to, like, and this was 2021, so like all these software companies had crazy valuations, big budgets. I'm like,
yeah,
it shouldn't be too hard to get some money. And so I think at the time he was getting, I don't know if we can really say the pricing on this, but whatever, we'll say
it. Big range.
No, whatever. So he was so he
it's not Rogan, so obviously.
Yeah, so he was probably getting like 50 CPM deals, which is really high, right? Like average podcast prices are like 20-ish.
Okay, and for people who don't know what that means, a $20 CPM means that for every 1,000 viewers or listeners, it costs $20 per 1,000.
Yeah.
So if that was a YouTube video at like 1 million, then you do 1 million,
exactly.
10,000, 100,000.
Yeah. And so in my eyes, I'm like, what? He's charging $50 per every 1,000 viewers? That makes no sense. Like, and I didn't even know it was CPM. I just thought, hey, he has millionaires and he has investors, he has millionaires, startup founders, all this type of stuff in his audience.
Really valuable audience.
Like, why are we only selling spots for this many $100? And so I didn't know anything that there's anything called standard industry pricing. And so whatever, I put together a PDF, tripled the prices, and started sending this out to people. And lo and behold, we probably sold around 40 ads across like 5 or 6 different sponsors. So we're selling these and also in podcasting, you usually start with 3 ad buys to start, or like 2 or 3 ads to start and see if it even works. We were selling 8 to 12 ad spots at 3 times the price. And so 3 times at 50 CPM, we're talking about 150 CPM, which is 7 times market rate.
Dang.
And so I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I didn't know I was overcharging, but his producer saw that because his producer was Nick Davis, who used to do Theo Vaughn. And who's like super connected.
Yeah. Is he still with Theo? Because Theo's in Nashville.
I don't know if he's still with him, but he was super connected. He saw those pricings on the viewership that James had, and he's like, "What the fuck is this guy doing to sell these ads?" And so that caught his eye, and that's when the business actually started.
Got it.
And so from there, he introduced me to Sean O'Malley.
The fighter. So he was like, he won the belt and then he defended it. So he was a 2-time, he's amazing.
I think, featherweight champ or something like that. And so UFC. I got connected with Tim, who's his trainer, and his brother, Dan, and his dad, also Dan. So I started selling their ads, became friends with them. And we started, because he had that big name, I was now able to get some, more common brands that you see. For James, it was more like NetSuite, Shopify, all these ones. For Sean, we finally got, Athletic Greens, Manscaped, Keeps, Magic Spoon, all these ones. And I also started getting connected to these big agencies that represented a lot of these. So at the time, we were still selling podcasts, but on the other hand, Sean's audience was 97% on YouTube. And so I started realizing, there's bigger audiences on YouTube. So from him, I got introduced to another podcast called Dope as Usual, which was a comedy podcast. At the time, top 25 comedy podcast.
Oh, wow.
Was getting over like 200,000 between downloads and views per video. And that was also through Nick, who introed me. And that's when we started selling some more deals. And that's when I started realizing, like, yo, there's a lot of potential here. Brands want to spend here. And 2 deals really struck out to me specifically, which was one was I cold called the guy at Liquid IV. And I'm like, hey, this is what I do. Like, can we do a deal? I'm so sorry to interrupt you. And he was in the car, so he gave me the time of day. Connect me with whoever his agent was, and we closed like a $28,000 deal.
Oh, wow.
A few days later. So
nice.
Like quickly like that. And then I'm like, damn, there's like opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity here, and people are enjoying my service.
And are you still a student right now, or do you graduate yet?
At this point, I had graduated.
Yep.
And I had just started a job at a marketing agency.
That's right. Okay. Yep.
So I was doing this on the side and doing that job.
Goodness.
Because I still didn't know, like, this was still just a side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I didn't see, I had ideas about the potential, but like, it wasn't proven out and it wasn't doing that much revenue at the time, right? But some of these deals were coming in. Obviously, I mentioned 28K. Like, I'm not making that. I'm making 15% of that or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we closed that. And so I was still kind of doing it, not, you know, let's call it half-assed while working this job full-time. And I was really into the job because it was like an Amazon e-commerce agency. I was put on 8 different brands as their project manager. I got to see all their spend. Like, I was dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars on Amazon. And I'm like, this is the coolest shit ever. I want to do Amazon. Like, so this was still a side thing. And then kind of by chance, through one of the agencies that we did a Liquid IV deal with, they're like, hey, Miller Lite is one of our clients. And we closed my first 6-figure deal from that.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, like, that was the most joy I ever had on a deal. And it was like 30 times smaller than a deal that we've closed together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that one, and like that deal was happy, but like this first deal was like, I was jumping and playing music. I'm like, yo, what the hell is going on? Like, it was crazy. So that's when I'm like, okay, there's real opportunity here. And so at this point I was like 4 months into my job.
Okay. And then you quit or what?
No, I stuck with it for another 5 or so months. I moved to part-time towards the end. But while I was sticking with it, that was like the period of time I was probably working the hardest, because there was like this crazy vision for me. And so I would go to the office in Brentwood for that company from like, I don't know, 9 a.m. to like 6 p.m. Barely even work out, and then just come home and grind on this business for like 4 or 5 hours a night.
Goodness.
But I loved it because I was like learning so much, because during the day I got to learn how do these brands actually act, like what do they want to do, and then at night I could sell to brands. I'd never sold to the same brands, obviously, but I still got to speak their lingo. And this was a very interesting learning, and this is why that job was so important. Was most talent managers today don't get the brand. Like, and to me it makes no sense, because I'm like, yo, it's an e-commerce brand. They look at LTV, they look at all these things, like all those things became like, those numbers and acronyms and goals became second nature to me. And then when these talent managers talk about the creative side of things, like, yeah, it's important, but most of these brands that are doing YouTube sponsorships are all about the numbers. Yeah. And so I think that was like one edge I had in the beginning, where I could talk their language and they were like, damn, like someone actually cares about the same things that we care about. So that was that. And then, you know, they knew I was running this business at the same time.
So you told them?
I told them a few months in, I'm like, hey, like we're starting to close some bigger deals. I offered to build out a influencer department
for that
company. Yeah.
What'd they say?
And they said it's not a priority.
Got it.
So they probably missed out looking back, you know what I mean? But they said it was not a priority. I said totally fine. And so it came to the point towards the end where, you know, I went part-time with 2 months left. I talked to the CEO, and the CEO was like, he understood my drive to start a business. He knew my cousin, and he's like, he kind of gets like, you know, where I'm coming from in that sense. And he's like, look, I never forget, he told me this. He's like, you can't be a half pregnant entrepreneur. Like, either start the company or stay here and we'll like double your salary and give you a raise, basically, to the promotion. Because I was still doing well in the job at the time, because I really enjoyed the job too. Wow. And so that was, it sounded like it wasn't a tough decision at the time. It was like, I've got to do this. Like
yeah, it sounds tough if it's like double your current salary that you're crushing, or do your own thing. A ton of risk. I mean, that's a lot.
Like a ton of risk.
Was that scary or no?
No. And looking back, it's kind of crazy
Yeah.
like that I wasn't scared. And I think like that is helpful. Like
Yeah.
early on when you're like naive, I don't know if that was just me or other younger people, but like sometimes you're so naive and you're so confident, like, oh, for sure I'm going to get this done.
Was it not scary for you because you were already listening to tons of like business podcasts and like, oh, I need to get my own company? Because if someone's not doing that, I can think that that's going to be a lot scarier for them to leave a job offer of
I think
2x.
Yeah. So what it was for me is like ever since I was 16, I was reading these books on like Think and Grow Rich, Thinking Big, all this type of stuff. And especially when I was in high school, I kind of fell off in college. And I'll talk about that later about how much of a scam it put me back to like
college.
Right now I'm at 24. I would have been where I am at 21 if I didn't go to college.
So
100%.
Are you going to have your kids go to college or no?
I will not suggest it. No.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
If my kids want to go to college, I'll say go for 1 year.
Yeah.
Fail all your take one class so you don't need to pay. Just go live in the dorm. Make friends. Don't get into alcohol, but become really social and make the friends. Because like that's all you're getting out of it.
Yeah.
And probably like I can't imagine my kids going and working in banking. Like
unless you're going into just specific medicine, this one niche.
Yeah, but even then it doesn't make sense because like the people who are most influential today in medicine aren't doctors a lot. I mean, maybe I could be wrong, but like all these biohackers and stuff like that. I mean,
yeah, I mean, a lot of them have traditional training, and through that,
and they realized
that
you don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
So,
well, like Kayla, my wife, I mean, she knows more than a lot of other people I know that have all these degrees.
She's not a
she's self-taught. Right? No,
yeah, exactly. That's a great example, right? That's what I was thinking of, but I didn't know for sure. So yeah, the college puts you behind for sure.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that transition time, was it scary? Was it not scary? It wasn't scary because like I was always repeating these things to myself like this. And once I started at that period of time, I was like 21, 22-ish. And I had just come out of college. I was drinking a lot of alcohol for like 3 years. And I looked at myself and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I'm such a fucking loser. I was like social. I was doing all this type of stuff, but like, this isn't my version of a winner. I was a fucking loser. You know what I mean? And that was like a low point for me.
Did you feel like you were a loser at that time because you knew that you were drinking too much and it was all there was no purpose behind it? Or why did you feel
it wasn't alcohol? It was mostly just I had no achievement for years. Like the last time I felt achievement was when I was 17. When I was like winning piano competitions.
Yeah, because you played piano since you were like 4, right?
Yeah. So I was playing piano for a while, competed in California, became like top 10 in California.
Whoa.
And that was like the last time I felt achievement. And I remember thinking about that. It's crazy you bring that up because I haven't thought about that since. I'm like, damn, I haven't accomplished anything in 5 years. I'm a fucking loser. You know what I mean? And so that was, and I realized for myself, it's like the accomplishment is what keeps fueling me, and I might just be a little bit of a sicko because of that, but like it sucks without accomplishment. I'm like, okay, I'm a loser. You know what I mean? So
that's why I want my future kids with Kayla to be competent in something, whether it's like for me it was chess. I went to chess tournaments. Yeah. Like you just have to be, especially guys have to be good at something.
Yeah, you gotta be winning.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and you have to lose occasionally to know what it's like to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah, I one of my pet peeves is all those teams where they don't do trophies, they don't do winners, and I'm like, what are you talking about? As a parent, how can you have your kid play soccer at 8 years old and then there's no winners or losers? I'm like, that's the whole point. There's a winner and there's a loser.
Exactly. So
wow. So
and then back to that point on why it was easy to get out of it was that last month. So I actually left the job on my birthday, May 18. And it just happened to be a Friday. And all right, it makes sense. I had a trip planned with my friends at the time, like end of college trip. And so I'm like, okay, let me just do it before this so I'm not working the job while I'm on a trip. And leading up to that, like the 3 or 4 weeks before, we had closed like a bunch of business. I get back the next month and maybe 60 or 70% of it cancels.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, leaving the job, I'm like, oh, for sure. You know what I mean? Like, we're great. And then a bunch of it cancels. Oh, man. So we started from scratch. And those were like, we had like 4 pretty bad months. And then like it started to pick up.
Oh, gosh. So what can someone learn from you starting like Adhesive Media? Like if you had to talk to yourself a few years ago.
Yeah. Early on.
Well, because there's a lot of people that might be listening to this clip or whatever of, that want to be an entrepreneur, that want to start a business, so like you were in their shoes a few years ago, not super long.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
like what's the hardest part?
Number one thing to get out of your head and I wish I got this out of my head when I was 16 because I would be in a different scenario today.
This is good.
Right?
Yeah.
Was you don't need to start a unicorn business.
Wow.
Right? And so
yeah,
we had this guy that came to our high school when I was 16.
Okay. Speaker.
His name was
what?
I don't want to put him on blast, but whatever.
He probably won't see it.
Hey, Richard, if you're seeing this, you got to learn from this. All right. Came to our high school, basically did this whole presentation, came with a suitcase, opened the suitcase, and a bunch of money came out of it.
Okay.
He's like, you guys want to be rich? You got to start like a Silicon Valley funded startup, unicorn ideas only. Okay. At the time, I was about to launch a fulfillment by Amazon company with my cousin,
FBA,
who's like Amazon Pro. You know my cousin, Justin, right?
Yeah, he's great.
If I had gone into Amazon at 16,
yeah,
where the fuck would I be today at 24? And like gone all in on it. And it was a good product too, looking back.
Really?
So like everything was proven out. We just had to place the order, and I stopped the order because of something.
But thanks to Richard, you didn't do it.
Yeah, Richard put me behind like 5 years in life. So he comes to our school, does this whole thing like, wow, billionaire. That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, you guys are young. You're creative. You have nothing to risk. Go try to start unicorn ideas. And so he did this whole thing of thinking of the idea. It's got to have huge TAM. It's got to be something new that no one, like the first question when you think of an idea, he would say, why has no one done it?
This is the opposite of the Cody Sanchez model about boring businesses.
Yeah. It's like, why has no one done it is the worst fucking idea. Why has no one represented YouTubers? We wouldn't have done 15 million deals the last 3 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
yeah,
like what the fuck, right? So he is like, you have to think of this crazy idea, right? And so the idea I had in college or in high school was, let's make Airbnb for self-storage, which right now is neighbor.com, right? So like, I don't know, they probably raised money, but like, who the fuck am I at 16? No software development experience, no business experience, no anything experience, no nothing. Like, I'm an idiot at that point. And I want to get into this business, which requires a lot. And what he said is like, if you can dream it, you can happen, which is fine if you're Mark Zuckerberg and you're lucky. Because like these people also are lucky, the ones that do that. And there's evil, like geniuses, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, like what I would tell the people is like, yo, if you want to be an entrepreneur for sure, there's, I think, 3 things that you could do that are helpful, right? One is start something like a marketing agency where you do the service in the beginning, so you get a skill and eventually you hire people. So like if I was 16 and I had no skills, what's the number one agency I would start at the moment? It probably wouldn't even be a marketing. It would be any type. I'm saying not start a marketing agency, start an agency. Yeah. So first thing I would start if I was 16 right now would be an automations and AI agency, right?
Ooh, that's great.
Extremely high demand.
Yeah.
If you have a business that is doing $1 million a year in revenue or has $1 million a year in cost, you figure out how to cut out 2 employees, save them $100K, and you charge them $10K for it, and you do something simple. It's a great value equation. How do you get clients for that? Easy. You post videos on YouTube on the automations you're making. You post on LinkedIn. You connect with business owners. Everyone wants to do this right now. So like if I was 16, I would just get into that and do the builds myself.
So if you're a 16-year-old right now and you want to start a business, even if you have a great idea or a service that you think you can offer, there's still the aspect of finding the clients and putting yourself out there.
Still doing that, yeah.
And doing content or cold calling, cold emailing.
And I think agency is a great first business, and here's why.
Because there's no widget. It's a service.
What's that? Widget?
Is it because there's no like physical good, but it's like
So there's a number. So on the cost side of things, there's no physical good. There's no like upfront cost of anything. You're just providing services.
So your time is that.
Your time, you become an expert. But on the other side, and then the downside of it, obviously, is the scalability is less than other businesses. Yeah. Which I think as a young entrepreneur has its benefits. You have to deal with people. You have to like
put up with them.
You have to deal with people, hiring and firing, management, project management, billing, all this stuff, like calls, sales. It has every single aspect of business in one business, right? Let's say you have a coaching offer, for instance, and you blow up on content and you have a coaching offer. Like it's a great lead funnel, but then what are the other aspects of the business? Like you're probably going to make more money doing that, probably, but are you going to get more of that education early on? You know what I mean? So I think that's the benefit of agency business is like you get introduced to every aspect of business, really. That's what I got out of working at an Amazon marketing agency. As a project manager, I had to deal with all the people on the account, make sure everyone got their shit done on time, and deal with the client. And so like I had full visibility into a whole business. You see what I'm saying? And so that was the benefit of it. And that gave me a lot of knowledge. You know what I mean?
So for some people that are, young hustlers that want to start a new business, would your advice, depending on what they want to do, be to go get a normal job and learn something before they then, because you and I had very different paths. I didn't go all into entrepreneurship till I had hit 30. And you kind of started right away after, just one job of like learning as you were doing something else.
Yeah.
So I feel like, especially with the advent of AI, there's a lot of opportunity for someone out 100%. There to just start now.
Yeah. So that was the 3 things I was saying. So number 1 is you would start an agency. I think AI agency is good.
Yeah.
Number 2 and 3, these are more practical. This is maybe for people who are like, no, I refuse to work somewhere. I need to start a business. If you want to get that itch done, just do this, right? Number 2 is I would say be an apprentice for someone. Don't try to be an apprentice for Elon Musk because he's not going to fucking respond to your email.
Yeah.
Find someone who's like, so if you're 16, go find a 21-year-old entrepreneur. Or if you're 21, go find a 24-year-old. If your income's 0, go find someone who's doing 10K a month. If you're 10K a month, find someone who's doing 50K a month. You know what I mean? So try to find someone who's like a couple steps ahead of you, but not 100 steps ahead of you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you'll be able to help them more, and they'll have maybe a little bit more time to train you too, and you'll be able to add more value to them with your lack of skills. So I would say and you can learn a lot through that, and maybe you become their chief of staff, or you can do something like that. So get really close to someone who's doing a business. And then I would say number 3 is work at a business that is moving fast and like hits a lot of core values, or like a well-run business, really. Not too big though, because I don't think if you're working at like a 1,000-person company, like you're really gonna get that much.
There's gonna be too much red tape for you to really learn.
There's a lot to learn all over. There's no one way.
So as the CEO of Adhesive Media, what's been like the biggest shift of priorities from year 1 up until now, like, year 3, 4, and then 5 and beyond?
Yeah. So I think right when we started, it was like, damn, like how many mistakes was I making early on?
Yeah. And
they were all fine, honestly. But what was very important early on was a couple things. Number 1 was service. Like, and that's something I think that I'll probably lean more into, like when it comes to probably as I keep making more content as time goes on, like what I want to talk about is service. Because like for a business like this, it's all service. You need to be really good with your clients, really good with the sponsors you work with, really good with the influencers you work with, and be able to give them a good service. So what I always focused on early on was like, can I really give the best service possible? Imagine I'm on the other end of it, right? The worst thing you can do is bad service. Yeah. You know what I mean? Especially early on. It's like no one knows who you are. So why would you not go above and beyond? Like you have to make your way for it. So I'll go above and beyond for all clients. Like that was number 1 focus. We still do that today. It's not as much me doing it, but as the team doing it, right? Yeah. But I'd say that's the core focus of that. And a lot of it at the beginning, especially because I had no money, right? So it's not like I just hire people off the bat. It's like me learning how to do things. And so I was very focused on like, hey, how can we innovate these like little things, like creating automations to link different spreadsheets together and figure out the best way to structure our database of influencers and creators and deals. That stuff was super helpful and is paying off today, right? And then I would say the other focus, especially early on, which is still focused today, is like constant leads. There needs to be constant business. Yeah. Like a pipeline. Constant pipe. Like if your leads dry up, you're out of business, basically.
Yeah. Well, that's why service needs to be so good, because if the service is good, then your existing people are telling their people, and then you don't even need a sales team if it's working for itself. Yeah.
So you don't lose clients. Like out of 100 creators, maybe one of them goes like doesn't want to do deals every quarter. You know what I mean?
What about the brands though?
The brands, as long as brands are spending, they keep spending with us.
Okay, so if they stop, it's not for a lack of service on your side.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
So that's the thing. Like, don't lose clients. Like, no matter what, do not lose clients. You know. And I also think another thing early on, which I think is a misconception, is all these people online are like niche down, all this kind of stuff. Like, I've sold podcast ads, I've sold YouTube ads, I've sold influencer ads, I've done all this until we figured out YouTube was our shit. I've worked with good brands, bad brands, high budget, low budget, offered service where we represent the brand, offered where we sold to the brand, until we learned, okay, selling to brands who have big budgets works for us. You know what I mean? That became our niche, but in the beginning, we did multiple types of deals, worked with multiple different types of influencers, all this type of stuff to figure out where our niche is. So like, the worst thing you can do early on is like, okay, I do, database automations for Series C founders. Like a 16-year-old who says they know how to do that. Like, why? Have you done that for people? Have you done that for other things? So I get that niching down is good, but I think there's a benefit to of trying a lot in the beginning within the same business. Like, I don't think you should do a million businesses.
And were you ever distracted, like as you're building this?
Oh, terrible.
Or as other people are like, okay, they want to be an entrepreneur, they have an idea, they're getting started, or maybe they get started. What are the distractions that come or came for you in your like early 20s as you navigated all of this? Because you started making money and stuff started to work.
Yeah.
You wanted to scale, but I'm sure there was a bunch of distractions.
Yeah, the distractions are killer.
Now, were you still drinking after college or no?
Less.
Okay.
But I still was on weekends.
Wow.
I really stopped about 9 months ago.
Oh wow, so this is new.
But when I also wasn't drinking that much, I think back when I had like an ex-girlfriend, like that also helped because it's like, as a guy, you just drink for girls. You know what I mean? Part of it.
You go out.
Yeah, you go out. You know what I mean? So that was also helpful to realize, okay, like I stopped around then, and then
You stopped when you got a girlfriend?
when I got a girlfriend, and then
That's good.
I think when we broke up, I kind of was like partying a little bit more, or I had like 3 months where I didn't go out. I was just working like nonstop, which was like unbelievable growth. I fucking loved that period of time. And then was like getting more social after, like going out a little bit more. And then, I went to New York, went back to drinking for like a week, like went out like 3 times in that week, was drinking. And I looked at myself, I'm like, damn, I look like shit right now. And I'm like, let me just try the next 2 weeks, like 0 alcohol. I'm still going to go out. And I'm like, damn, this is good.
Yeah.
And then when I got back to LA, I just kept doing it week. And then I'm like, okay, now I don't drink anymore. That's it. That's who I am. And I have some like advice on like how to actually stop drinking. And mine is 100% counterintuitive.
Okay. So advice for stopping to drink. How do
Stopping
you do
to
it?
drink. Here's the number one things that worked for me.
Okay.
One is go out more.
Really?
So if you're going out once every other week, go out twice a week. So I would go, like, once I stopped drinking, I would go out like twice a week, whether it's to bars, whether it's to social events. Like anytime I could go out and become more social. That's number one.
Because then you get better at being social without
you
needing
get,
to
and
drink.
you don't become I'm boring. Like you don't want to stop drinking and be boring. Like you want to be that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You still want to be that guy. You know. So number 2, become more interesting.
Oh. That's
so what
good.
that means is go on trips. Like if you're not gonna drink, you still like go be better than you were. So go on trips. That's number 2.
Okay.
And do cool shit. You know what I mean? Number 3 is like become that guy. Like work harder, work more on your business, dress better, work out more, eat well, like do all the things that you should be doing so you have that confidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, depending on where you want to go in life, if you want to network or people that are doing cool things, how can you expect to be in that circle if you're not doing those things? Right?
Yeah.
So it's
to
like
still be cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
good.
number 4, this one's, if you can afford it, buy a lot of drinks for other people.
Oh.
Like this one
Nice.
was like, I remember like the first time I went out in LA and, I stopped drinking and all that stuff. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Like everyone at the bar, like 10 shots. I'm not gonna have any of them. Just I want everyone to have a good time. I told everyone today's a great day. It was Independence Day or something like that. I'm like, oh, America is amazing. Like let's all drinks on me or whatever. And then you still become fun. Like you're like, because if you're like a fun guy who's always drinking, having a good time, and then you get right away from that, you're like, fuck, this sucks. You know what I mean? But you have to bring that energy back. You know what I mean? So those are my counterintuitive ways to stop drinking. Like some people like can't be out because then they get like, oh, peer pressure or whatever. I'm like, no, go the exact opposite way.
Yeah.
Go out, work on yourself though at the same time, and go buy drinks for other people. And then it's very counterintuitive. And go on trips and like be fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do remember the guys in college that didn't drink but went out a lot, and it was always an anomaly, but it was cool because they were still fun and interesting, and they didn't feel a need to drink, and a lot of other guys probably were confused at that.
Yeah, and it always frustrates me in Miami because I know people that are like,
yeah,
oh, I'm not going out, I'm not drinking tonight. I'm like, bro, go out for 2 hours, go to sleep after.
Yeah,
if you're not worried, because if you're gonna go on TV. You might as well go be social for 2 hours because I know you're going on TV for 2 hours or your phone for 2 hours. You know.
Yeah, or watching TV. Got it. Yeah. So you're in so you're in Miami. People who go to Miami, there's a lot of talk about how hard it is to get stuff done there, but that's probably because they can't go out without drinking.
Yeah. So I got lucky. So in Miami, within like 2 months of being there, I joined an entrepreneurs group there.
Nice.
We just did our first events like 2 weeks ago, and I feel like everyone in the room was like way ahead of me. And so that was like an incredible experience. Cool people, a lot of people around my age, and that was great because it was like, okay, I don't need to like now I have a group of people that are amazing out here, and then I also had some like mutual friends out there. But yeah, number one problem in Miami is you get there and you're like, damn, like everyone's in good shape and everyone's hot and everyone's partying and all this
They'll
stuff.
have money.
And everyone has money and all this stuff, and then
Yeah.
Just focus on yourself. You know what I mean? Focus on going to the gym, focus on eating well, and focus on your work. And you want to meet the right people there. There's a lot of weirdos out there in Miami.
Yeah. Well, and LA. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
But so as a brand, if a brand is watching this and they see you, what should they think about in terms of what Adhesive could do for them?
For them, number one thing is this. YouTube is incredible.
Yeah.
YouTube is really incredible. The audiences on YouTube are unbelievably engaged with the creators.
More so than short form platforms.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like short form platforms, you're watching them most of the time for the content. Sometimes if you're following someone's journey, it's great. But like YouTube, people are subscribed on YouTube. They have a feed of just the shit they want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And YouTube, which is special, is the engagement on older audiences is unreal. So you'll have, like we have a ton of farming channels, automotive channels, outdoors, homesteading, preppers, all this type of stuff where you're like, where the hell do you find these people? You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to, how are you going to target them otherwise?
Yeah.
And so they have extremely engaged audiences. What you'll find with a lot of the younger creators is they'll have one video at 100K views, then 300K, then 200K, then 50K, then 500K views. Very inconsistent. With these older audiences, you'll notice they have videos and their views go up or down by 10 or 20%. That's it.
Oh, wow.
And what that means is the same people watching, they follow the journey. Like for a homesteading channel, they'll watch someone from zero to have a full home and kids over 4 years. You know what I mean? And so these people are like extremely connected with the audience. And so that's the beauty of YouTube. And so it always surprises me. Brands that go big and want to do a Super Bowl ad or something, get 100 million eyeballs, like come go get an older audience on YouTube, get 100 million eyeballs on that. It'll get you a long way.
So the best way for brands to do it with you would probably be not just a one-off, but like 10 or 20 episodes to capture that consistency that's there.
Yeah. If you want to, and the other thing I'll say about YouTube is if you want to do YouTube, you can't dip your toes. You know what I mean? Like the brands that are crushing on YouTube are doing YouTube big time.
Like Factor, I see the same ones over and over.
You know everyone. You know what I mean? That because then you get the benefit of it. Oh, I saw it here. It's like you need to hear it so many times to actually do it. So yeah, if I was a brand I wanted to get on YouTube, I would get the whole team on board, get your finance department already. Like, yo, we want to go all in on this thing, and be ready to drop on it. You know what I mean? Are
the people you're normally talking to from your brand clients, are they the owners or are they like the head of marketing person, or who's the? It
totally varies. So depending on how big the brand is, we can get someone who's like a manager. If they're small, we can get the CMO.
Got it.
You know what I mean? CMO is ideal if because if we want to get the buy-in of the whole company. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because then the CMO can tell the other stakeholders, here's what we're doing, here's the strategy, here's why we're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Then they all have to do it. Whereas a manager, if it's a bigger company but a more junior person, there's a lot of uphill battles that they're going to have to fight internally to kind of show why this makes the most sense. And if you don't have any life experience, or if you've never worked at a brand and you're trying to run an agency that services brands, it's going to be trickier because you're not going to have the instinct of, okay, well, I know that these three things are going to happen after this happens, which you have and I have because we've worked at brands before. So we've like seen that, which is really like valuable. Let's see what else is here. What other topics should we talk about here? What about your health journey? Because not only are you done drinking now for the most part, but you're also interested in like some of the longevity stuff.
Yeah.
So how crazy do you get?
I'm not crazy enough yet.
Okay.
I want to go all in. Like once I move to Miami, it's been a little bit frustrating because like I've been in so many different like Airbnbs and things and like there are things that I want to invest in, like a reverse osmosis machine. It's like $500. How do I put that in a 1 month Airbnb? Am I going to return it at the end? What do I do with it? So all these things have been a little bit frustrating. But now that I fully have a place, like with the lease starting next week, so that will be super helpful. Just like fully stocking the place with all that stuff. In terms of food, I am noticing that carbs are really slowing me down during the day.
Yeah.
So I do want to go on like at least before dinner, like red meat just twice with avocados and fruit and honey and all that stuff.
Nice.
And just high fats and high proteins and all that stuff.
Yeah, to maintain high energy, I've found that I just put all my carbs at night. So like even today, no breakfast, lunch, Kayla made some eggs and some salmon, but I haven't ate anything since then. So all my carbs for the day are going to be between 4 and 6 p.m. And I feel that's how I maintain high energy. Because if I have carbs, like people who have a couple of donuts for breakfast, I'm like, how are you up?
Well, they drink it with coffee. That's how they operate.
Yeah, true.
But that's the tough part is like, we were talking in the kitchen, is like, I've noticed my energy levels go down over the last few months. I'm like, hey, what am I doing differently? I don't know. We have to figure that out. That's why I have to do all the longevity testing.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're used to just being tired all the time, like you don't realize that the donuts
it's your normal
slow you down. But I definitely want to get more into it for sure. I really do feel good when I'm eating meat and avocados. That's it.
Avocados.
Those are like my favorite things.
What do you drink? Are you a big water guy? Like right now, is that water?
This is water.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
Water I like. Coffee is like hit or miss. Like this is a really good coffee. I could drink this a lot.
It's organic too.
My problem is if I'm not sleeping enough and then I get hooked on coffee, if I even have a normal night's sleep, my energy levels are just out. So I have to make sure I don't get too hooked on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think we have to do that longevity test for me and then figure out what's wrong and then fix it from there.
Yeah, the toxic burden test and gut test. I mean, that was one of the biggest things that changed in my life when I met Kayla. She had me do these tests. And I learned what I was deficient in.
Yeah.
I started supplementing more vitamin D. I realized I had glyphosate, which is, Roundup from eating food that wasn't organic. So I just went all organic. And my life is so much better. Exactly. It helps having a partner that you can do this with.
Exactly.
So, like, imagine if you had a girlfriend that was eating like crap.
Imagine if I did.
It would be horrible. So are you single right now, or are you looking?
If you're watching this and you're a biohacker.
I guess you're single. Yeah. So do you want a girl who's really health conscious? So what's your dream girlfriend?
So number one is gonna be health conscious.
Okay.
They've got to be able to respect like what I'm doing. I think there is like I never want to feel any guilt for not being able to spend time with them. Yeah. You know what I mean? I want someone who's like, yo, do your shit. Yeah. I'm doing my shit too. So hopefully they're doing their own thing. It could be a business, it could be content related, it could be studying related, whatever it is. But I need someone who's busy for sure also. That's like a big thing for me. Someone who has passions. Like I don't want anyone boring. They gotta be passionate. And like kind of just bring the best out of me. Someone who like out of nowhere can just start dancing, having a good like positive person. You know what I mean? So positive is good.
Would you ever go on that show Love is Blind, where you talk to people in a pod, you can't see them, and then you like form connections? It's like one of the biggest shows on Netflix right now.
Really?
Yeah, it's called Love is Blind. It's really interesting because these people have probably 10 days or so to date all the other people in the pod, but you can't see them.
And they get married at
You're talking to them for hours and hours. Then you propose to someone, and if they say yes, you then see each other. And you have 1 month to meet each other's families, live in the real world, and then get married. So this past season, there's going to be some spoilers here, but this past season, from probably the 20 guys and 20 girls, they probably focused on maybe 8 guys, 8 girls. And then of those 8 couples or 7 couples, I think it was the fewest this season. There was only 1 couple that got married after the month. And said yes at the altar. 2 or 3 of them went to the altar, and then one of them said no.
At the altar.
In front of the families and everything. And then there's all this drama on TikTok.
That's like crazy.
It's one of the few shows that we watch here and there. So would you ever go on a reality dating show or no? Like if they came to you and were like, we want you to be the Bachelor, what would you say? You'd have to pause.
Honestly, I wouldn't be able to pause business, but if I could keep business, maybe it'd be good just to. Yeah. And then I need to start posting on YouTube too, like stuff. It could bring more leads. I don't know, but I wouldn't do it to actually find a girlfriend.
What do you mean?
Like there's gonna be 10 girls there?
Well, probably 20.
10,
but
20?
it's probably 20
But how do they
like
vet them?
curated.
Curated.
The producers, make sure they're interesting, people, but they also want people that make good TV. So maybe they're not, you kind of get good and bad.
Find 20 Jewish girls between
Jewish for you, yeah, because you want to get married eventually. So if they need to be Jewish, that kind of helps it though, because if you're Jewish and you only want to marry a Jewish girl, it kind of takes out a lot of people, which is good.
There's a pro and a con to it. It's like a smaller TAM.
Yeah, much smaller TAM.
Yeah.
But when you find them, it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's great.
But
I mean, it is a smaller TAM, but then at least it's easier to align on a lot of values from that. Like, especially if they went to like Jewish day school, or they did Shabbat with their family, or they do the holidays, like they know 10 commandments and all that stuff. It's not like I know the 10 commandments off the top of my head, but like if you were a kid and you had a teacher teaching you 10 commandments after school, it kind of gets in you a little bit. So it does add some layer of filtering. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So what is like a controversial thing you have right now, or like belief you have? Are there any conspiracy theories that you're kind of all in on secretly? Do you think most people are doing something the complete wrong way? Do you have any like pet peeves?
Yeah. This I'm not good about.
Yeah, no, it's hard to think of these on the spot, but I think like,
I mean, at a high level,
yeah.
It's a weird thing because like one thing I always think about is like, are we all just like cogs in this system, and the whole government is just like imagine how much waste and money is like being frauded out in the government between tax and inflation and all the random
we're seeing it with Doge. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I mean, you think about that, like every dollar we make, like we only get a quarter of it, because there's all the taxes and random shit, and not a quarter, maybe like 30% of it. So like we're working like 3 or 4 times as hard for our money as like some people that are getting free money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that one's always a little bit weird, but if that's the bar, then it's okay. Just figure out how to do more. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that is a tough one.
That's a weird one, but I don't like to think about that too much, because it's like how much of it is in your power.
Yeah, you can't control.
And also don't want to get too involved in it, because you can go crazy. You never know like what's the power of these guys. Like, can they kill you or something? You know what I mean? So trying not to get too into that stuff, but it is crazy. I think a lot of people are somewhat on both sides. I think people are brainwashed by thinking the government's going to save you.
No, the extremes are bad on both ends.
It's not like things changed too much. I mean, I think sentiment of people went up because of Trump, but like, it's not like if you had a broken leg, it's not going away. Like, you still need to do physical therapy. You still need to do your own shit. So I do think people are way overly reliant on the government, and like you still need to do your own shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a principle. I mean, that's why I tend to align a little more on the conservatives than the liberals, is because their worldview is that life is more so in your control than less. Like, you're still gonna have a broken leg whether or not there's a Republican or Democratic president. It's just that the level of which you expect the government to help solve your problems is very different on both ends of it. Yeah. And like, we both didn't grow up. I mean, I didn't grow up with like a lot of money, so I had tons of jobs. You had a lot of jobs. Yeah. And it's not like we don't want the people with broken legs to get help. We do. It's just like it's not going to solve all your problems in life if you have a government that gives you free surgeries or free whatever. So I don't know.
Because you still need to go and do your thing.
Yeah, and
you still need to wake up in the morning and take action.
You have agency. Like, you still make the decisions. What are you going to do in your day? When are you going to wake up? When are you going to go to bed? Like, those are all your decisions.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So the government can, hopefully help us have safety and have streets and stuff, like the bare minimum. The problem is when you overly rely on the government and stuff gets inflated, you then have people in positions spending money on people they don't know, which, I mean, imagine how much you care about adhesives revenue right now. It's like, okay, you care a lot. It's your business. You're signing the payroll checks.
Yeah.
You have the clients that are going to fire you or hire you. But imagine if you were in a position in the government where you're signing money that's not your money, and you're having it go to places for people that you don't even know about. It's like, you care way less about that money.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's so painful. But yeah, that's a whole other topic. But I like what you said about focusing on what you can control, growing a business, thinking about what service you can provide to people.
Yeah, I mean, people who get worked up about it, it's like, dude, why are you getting worked up?
Yeah.
Go
do something.
Yeah,
I know. No, that's a good point.
I think that's one controversial thing. And then I think the other thing too is like, I do think, especially online with all these business people, they really underestimate the importance of getting a good job or mentorship out of college.
With mentorship,
because chances are you're probably not going to start something right out of college that does well, especially if you don't have work experience.
Yeah.
Unless you are a genius and you're put around the right people and you have incredible mentors in your industry and a team and all this type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I think the experience you can get from working somewhere really good for a few years is like unbelievable. And especially if you find the right company, you become kind of like an entrepreneur, where it's like you continue to grow within that company. It's not like you're taking too much risk on, and companies value that. You know what I mean? So like even on my team, I think, and I've said this on our team meetings, I think everyone that works at Adhesive Media, assuming we keep growing, which is the plan, is set. You know what I mean? Because you're at a company that's gonna be growing fast. We want to double this year. We want to keep doubling the year after. We want to keep growing.
Yeah.
You're getting more skills than any other jobs. I'm really pushing our team to grow. Like, and everyone every day is learning something new. They're getting pushed to learn more. You're learning what it means to serve clients well, have really good core values of business, and I keep the team in the loop on every improvement.
Yeah.
So it's like you're seeing it in firsthand. If you go and start something, especially without the experience of it, you might be running on pen and paper for a year. I don't think my team would, because they've learned all this shit. They wouldn't, right? But are you really learning that much? If you're running on pen and paper, you go out of business after a year.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a good system. You don't have good clients. You don't do good service. You don't do this. You know what I mean? So the value you get of learning somewhere, and then also it's not like they're not just learning from me. They're learning from each other. We're all growing. We're all learning. We're all doing this. They learn from the agencies we hire. They learn from the consultants that we'll get for a few hours. They learn when we meet, we talk about something, and then I report it with the team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like fast track of knowledge. So I think all this stuff on YouTube, how to make 10K as a student, how to quit your job, how to do all that's like, no, forget about that. It's like, how do you grow your skills as a young person is really the question and thing. I guess those are just the clickbait titles. But it's like, how do you grow your skills as a young person is more important. Because then you don't want to be in a situation where like, oh, you made the money, but then you're 25 and you're useless, and then you forget about everything. You know what I mean?
And if you're at a company that's growing that fast, what comes with that growth is a lot more responsibility, stuff that needs to get done. So that's why people get promoted way faster at companies that are scaling. Like, imagine if you got a job at Apple right out of college. Like, it's going to take you minimum 2 years to get promoted to the next like level. Yeah. And that's why people are like, they'll jump ship, they'll work there for 2 years, then they'll go over to Uber and work there, because you can maybe get promoted in 1 year if you bounce. So that's why everyone's bouncing. But if you go to a startup that is like a rocket ship or doubling year over year for 5 years, like the level of responsibility you're going to get from someone like you that trusts them already, you're just going to be like, okay, we'll go do this also. And, there's no like, you have to be in a senior manager spot before you become director for 2 years minimum. Like when I was at Yahoo, it was a very clear trajectory.
Exactly.
It was 2 years per cycle, and there was no guarantees. So, I'm like, I could stay here, or I could bounce now and immediately make even more money and then get a title bump or whatever. So all that is thrown out the window if you have an amazing idea and a service and you just want to start your own company and be the boss. But what comes with that a lot of, I think, teenagers and young people don't understand is when you do that, it's not just your idea, but the execution is what matters a ton. So ideas are somewhat plentiful. There's a lot of good ideas out there, but the execution of, who's the leader that's going to come in, that's going to oversee HR over here and talk to legal and figure out the trademarks, but then also hire. Do you have engineering and marketing? Does marketing, how do they talk to logistics and operations? And are you vertically integrated or horizontal? It's like, there's a lot that goes into that. Yeah. And you can't really wake up when you're in those positions and just have an off day or not really do anything. Exactly. Like, you have off days, but it's like, you still got to get everything done. Exactly. Like, and the buck stops with you. So, it's not like you could wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm going to half-ass it today. Like, if you do, you're going to be hurting yourself and the rest of the team. Absolutely. And that sucks.
And even two examples on that too. It's like at our company, the average person, so like with influencer marketing, you have closing deals and then coordinating the deal once it's closed, right? Usually people start here and then they go here. Since this is more like step by step, this one is more creative. So I've seen other companies where you're doing this for 2 years until you do this. On average, our teammates do this for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And get into negotiating and selling deals.
Wow.
It's like we have so many SOPs and processes out there on like how everything works. But then B is like, we really want to push you to learn everything fast. You know what I mean? So you're going to get a lot of growth there. And even like something as simple as how to send a good email is something that we talk about. Like greeting, acknowledge what they said, answer their question. If you have an ask it as a question rather than a command.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's something you learn over a year of sending emails or a couple years of sending emails that like, okay, now you know how to do that. You know what I mean? And now your skill is better. So like hypothetically, if people at Adhesive Media, let's say, in 5 years we sell our company, they go somewhere else, they'll probably step into another company and people are gonna be like, well, how the fuck do these guys do it so well?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because like that's what we focus on. Keep doing it better. Keep doing it better. Keep doing it better.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, thanks for coming over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, that's good.
I think we got through most of it. Cool. Well, enjoy the rest of your stay in LA.
Thank you.
You're going back to Miami in a few days. Kayla and I are going to Austin soon.
That's exciting.
So we'll be leaving. We'll need a new podcast.
Meet in the middle.
Yeah, we meet in the middle. Yeah, Austin's a lot more central, so that'll be nice. And I'm an early riser, so some of our team is ahead, so that'll be better. But
you guys like comedy?
Yeah, we'll go visit the Space Station? Yeah.
Oh my God, I went there twice.
You been there?
Yeah, I went alone also when I was there.
How was it?
Dude, I was like crying of laughter.
Really?
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Wow. You just walk up and get tickets, or do you have to buy them?
Just buy it online. Like they drop it like a week before.
Okay.
I think like Kill Tony's impossible to get tickets, but like all those guys do their own sets.
Yeah.
So like I saw Tony, Cam Patterson, Ari Maddie, like all their big guys, they all do their own sets. It's incredible. Did
Rogan stop by the nights you were there?
I didn't see him though.
Yeah. So he owns it, and then
although I don't think he's that funny of a comedian. Rogan.
That's I think there's comedians that are better than him for sure, but he's not bad, but he's not it's weird when you watch his podcast and then you watch one of his stand-ups and you're like, this is so different to see him via stand-up.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's not what you would think. Like, I don't know him as a stand-up. I know him as a podcast guy. So, but I mean, he's done so many different, but he's an interesting guy. Going back to what you were saying earlier, like be interesting. Like, I mean, he has so many different life experiences to pull from being an actor to hosting Fear Factor to doing the UFC stuff. And he did a lot of like martial arts on his own. And he's got all these weird random stories, which is why when you see like, an 18-year-old start a podcast, it's like, well, what are you going to say? You're like, what have you done? You're 18, you haven't done anything. But when Rogan started it, when he was probably in his 40s, he'd already done like 3 or 4 different, careers to different extents. So he also has an uncanny, he's a great podcaster, but yeah, I get what you're saying. The stand-up is a little bit different.
Stand-up is a good skill to have.
Yeah.
I think.
It's very hard to be good at it.
Yeah.
Because it's a muscle.
Skill. Especially as a podcaster, it's a good skill because you keep thinking of things.
Yeah. And you're thinking about like, how can this be funny? Or like,
keeps people engaged.
Where's the humor in this? Yeah. But he's good at like talking to people he's never met, kind of like breaking the ice. He's great at that. I think Tucker's is now ahead of his. Tucker Carlson's podcast.
That's the biggest podcast?
I think Tucker's is like number 1.
No way. I didn't even know it was that big.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It helps when you have Elon tweeting out your episodes for sure. But yeah.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. Well, cool. Until next time, we'll do one in Austin when you come out to visit our house.
Hopefully Miami.
But yeah, well, I don't know if we're going to move to Miami.
Yeah.
I don't know how big of a longevity hub that is, but I'm sure there's a lot of like,
people,
clinics. Yeah, I'm sure they have some good people. But cool. Let's go upstairs.
All right.
Cool.
This is good.
Good job.
Thanks
for being on the show.